You got your state championship for dive in 2 days. What advice do you have for expectations you should put on yourself in a meet? Should I walk in there expecting to win or have zero expectations on the outcome? That is a great question. You're always going to have expectations on yourself. Like if you've been training at anything, and in your case it's diving, if you've been training at diving for any amount of time, you know how you can perform in the sport. You know how you want to perform. You know what you want to accomplish, what you want to do. And I think it's good to have expectations. Now, your expectations should not be set on the results, especially in the sport of diving. And here's why I say that. The reason I say that is because it's a judged sport. It's a subjective sport. You can do the best dive you've ever done, but maybe there's something in the dive that the judges just don't like and they don't score it well. Or you could feel like I'm not diving great, but my scores are great. And, it's all just so subjective. And the biggest thing I'd say to focus on is not whether you win or exact placing. Obviously, you're going to want to place well. You're going to want to win. Obviously, that's part of any athlete. They want to win. But I would say rather than going in there expecting to win or focusing on winning, what you should do is focus on doing each individual dive the best you possibly can. Because if you are training well and you are a caliber of athlete that could go in and win the state championship, if you do all of your dives to the best of your ability, the outcome will be a reflection of that. But at the end of the day, you can only control what you can control. You can control your hurdle, your dives, your entries, your form. You can't control the judges' scores or other competitors. There have been meets in my life where I've dove the best I've ever dove in my entire life, and I didn't win. Example, the Olympics. In 10-meter synchro, those dives were the best I pretty much had ever done them, and I got second place. I didn't go into the Olympic final with this expectation, I have to win or I have to get a medal. I went in with the expectation on myself, I've trained really hard for this. I know that I can potentially win a medal if I do the dives the best I possibly can, one at a time, but it's not guaranteed because everyone else could also do the dives the best they've ever done it in that meet too. And then at the end of the day, I can't control them. I can't control their scores. I can't control my scores. I can only control me and my dives. So set the goal of, I want to win state championships. Set that goal. That's a great goal to have. That's a great goal to pursue. But then focus on the steps you need to take to achieve that goal that you can control. So if your goal is to win the state championship, what can you do to win that? You can get good hurdles, good dives, good entries, see your spots, perform your best. But ultimately, let the expectation be on you performing your best rather than getting a certain result, because the result will come if the performance is there. But you can't control other divers. You can't control the environment or the judges. So I think your expectations should be on yourself, specifically with your dives rather than your placement, because there were meets where, especially in college, I was like, okay, I've got the expectation I should win this. And then I didn't end up winning. And it would be because I messed something up or, there were just things out of my control. Like I did a dive I thought I did well, but the judges didn't like it and they scored it lower. And then after watching the video, I realized, oh, I actually made a mistake there. So it's kind of a nuanced answer. Don't have the expectation that I have to win this. Set the goal that I want to win this event. And your expectation should be one dive at a time. Focus on what you can control. Do everything that you can do the best you can do it, and let the results be what they are. Because at the end of the day, you're going to enjoy the contest more if you're enjoying that process. And again, the result's going to follow that process. But nothing's ever guaranteed. You could dive the best you've ever dove, someone might beat you, or you might not dive the best you've ever dove, but you just were the best that day. Other people might mess up, or you're getting great scores. So I think goals and expectations should be separate. Set really big goals, win state championships, that's the goal. But the expectation, you got to hold the meet with an open hand, because it doesn't identify you, it's not your identity, and there's always going to be more meets in the future, whether it goes great or whether it doesn't go the way you want it to. Use it all as learning, whether you do extremely well or whether, there's room for improvement. But that's a really good question. Just go one dive at a time, execute on what you can execute, and enjoy the meet. because it's supposed to be fun. Diving's a fun sport. I'm not about to dive, but that advice was helpful to me. There we go. Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately, that's everything in life. Is like, we live, especially in America, we live in a society that's so focused on expectations. It's so focused on, I have to do this to become this person, or I have to achieve this to have status or meaning or wealth or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, there's so many things that are outside of our control. We get so caught up on the things we can't control. We get so caught up on the results. We get so caught up on, the placements or the career or the salary, things like that. When in reality, at the end of the day, if we are performing our best and putting in 100% effort and doing everything we can with excellence, the results are going to be the fruit of that work. And so rather than focusing on what we can get or what we can achieve, we're going to be able to achieve so much more if we simply focus on the steps and the progress and the journey rather than trying to achieve whatever that destination is. And that's so cliche to be like, oh, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. But I mean, at the end of the day, it really is. Like, for me, winning an Olympic silver medal, I was so happy and so ecstatic and so pumped to be able to win that medal. Whereas some people, when they win an Olympic silver medal, their world comes crashing down. They're extremely disappointed in themselves. They're upset. They're sad. Because for me, it wasn't about the result. It wasn't about, I have to win gold or else this whole journey was a bust. It wasn't worth anything. For me, getting to the Olympics was that goal. And the next goal was, it'd be cool to win gold. But even if it doesn't happen, like, I'm at the Olympics. And so it's just so important to not undermine that statement of, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey, because it really is. Like, I look back on my diving career and I love it so much, not because I won an Olympic silver medal or national titles or whatever, but because I enjoyed the process. And when I controlled what I could control, things ended up being better than if I were to focus so heavily on these outcomes. So yeah, that's a little advice from an Olympian, but you do you, I guess. But for me personally, it's all about that journey. Yes, thank you. That was the most helpful response I've ever gotten asking that question. I've always been so hard on myself for my results or underperforming in the past, but that advice was worth gold. Yeah, I think ultimately at the end of the day, we see so many people on the top of the podium. We always hear interviews from the people that won or the people that are always winning at the Super Bowl, at the Olympics, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of the time, we see that as the rule, not the exception. And so we think, in order for me to have any sort of success in what I'm doing, especially in the sport of diving with the Olympics, it's like, I have to win Olympic gold or it was all for nothing. And I think that's insane, that's the standard we all put on ourselves. And that's a standard I found myself trying to put on my own self a lot of times in my diving career. And I enjoyed diving a lot more when I took that pressure off. I had a lot of pressure on myself as a diver, especially when it came to wanting to go to the Olympics. And everyone always thought I was going to go to the Olympics, and I was the kid that was seen that was going to go to the Olympics. And being able to separate myself from that identity and just work hard and focus on the things I could control, that forced myself to produce better results, because my results were the fruit of the labor I had put in to just wanting to become a better athlete, work hard, train hard, and do everything with excellence. And so set goals. If you take anything from this, it's this: set big goals. Set big goals like, I want to win the state championship. I want to win an NCAA championship. I want to win an Olympic gold medal. But if that result doesn't happen, just know the journey was not for nothing. Because I had the goal. I wanted to win an Olympic gold medal. Obviously, everyone wants to win an Olympic gold medal. But I had an amazing opportunity to represent Team USA at the Olympics, and I won a silver medal. And that's not a disappointment. That is so crazy to think about, that out of everyone in the world, I was second best. Out of 8 billion people, I was second best. And for me, I just always reframed what I was doing, whether it was at the Olympics or in other stuff in my career and, in other things I enjoy doing. But with all these things, I would have never made any progress at all had I not set big, scary goals for myself. I would have never gotten as far as I did in the sport of diving if I didn't set that goal. And I had that goal of going to the Olympics. I set that goal as a young kid, went to the Olympic trials in 2012, didn't make the Olympic team. Went to the Olympics in 2016, I achieved that dream. 2021, I set that goal again, and I didn't make the team. And I'm not any less of a person because I didn't make the Olympics more than once. Because it's one of those things where it's like, those years leading up to the 2021 Olympic trials weren't for nothing. I had so many amazing experiences. I still competed at many events, won many other medals. They just weren't Olympic medals, but that's okay. Because at the end of the day, one result is not the entire defining moment of a career. It's the little moments along the way. So for your state championship, set that goal. You want to win that meet. Let's go. Make that the goal. Work hard. Put in the work and trust the work that you've put in, and just control what you can control. Don't focus on the results. Don't focus on other people's results. You can't control that, so don't let that impact your ability to dive in that meet. Take it one dive at a time. You're going to crush it. You're going to do amazing. Come back to the streams too and let me know how it goes, because I'm excited to hear, because diving's a sick sport.